exhibition and understanding the business of film. I am also the chairman of the Uganda Academy Selection Committee, the committee that vets films, Uganda films for the Oscars in the US. I have a lot of echo. I don't know if that favors my audience. We also want to take this opportunity to welcome the people online and appreciate the fact that Uganda National Culture Center, in partnership with Paulwood, supported by PANAF, bring you the first edition of EKIMEEZA for the artists' rights. It's amazing. So we'll begin with remarks from our host, who is the Executive Director of Uganda National Culture Center, Mr. Peter Francis Ojede. And then we'll proceed. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me welcome Mr. Francis Peter Ojede, the Executive Director, Uganda National Culture Center, to give us a review of why we are here. And since he's our host, has to welcome us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning, sir.
I am happy that this morning we're all here. Sorry. I'm happy that this morning we are all here to celebrate the International Theatre Day. But of course, what we're going to have this morning is a precursor for that. Allow me, therefore, to do some little bit of the protocol aspect. And I want to, in a very, very special way, thank our partner, Paulwood, who is here represented. We also have amidst ourselves here an honorable member of parliament whom we want to recognize her presence. We have distinguished teachers and lecturers that teach this subject we're going to talk about. And they're all here, and I want to also thank them for coming. I was reminded, and I'm jumping that a bit, we also have some distinguished students that have been shown to me, and I want to recognize. The directors, different directors, and I know that some board members in the different institutions are here. I want to recognize you, I want to thank you for coming, particularly UPRS I've seen, and I want to thank you for the job that you're doing. I want to thank everybody else, including the press, the team that is helping us to make sure that things move on smoothly. My team from UNCC, ladies and gentlemen, it's my singular honor to stand here on behalf of Uganda National Cultural Center to welcome you at this great center and also speak to you about the event that is going on. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming. I know that there was a heavy downpour, but in my place, and that should help you to know where I come from. In Lango, when it rains, you know that it's a blessing. And we want to welcome it. We should not take it negative. We should actually be thanking God that there's been downpour. A few days ago, it was hot, and I think it has been one of the hottest seasons in Uganda. The topic that has been put here is an interesting topic that we would all want to associate ourselves with: artist rights. And we want to take stock of that and see, in Uganda, how have we been able to take care of the rights of the artist. It is difficult for you to be able to talk of the rights of artists now unless you go backwards. You need to go backwards and see whether these same rights we're talking about was there. You all know that in the 70s, there was literally little room for artists to perform, and a few of the directors were even arrested, and some people that wanted to have some plays were stopped, and therefore in the 70s, in my view, the rights of artists were not protected the way we would want them. You then come into the 80s. When you look at the regimes, I'm trying to look at the regimes, you realize that some little right was given, and a few of the artists were able to perform, including the different controversial artists were allowed to do their work, but within a limitation. There are certain things that they will not be allowed. And you realize that in some radio stations and also in broadcast, some of them were stopped from doing such activities. So therefore, there was limited freedom of artists and rights, and therefore, they did not have full rights. From 86, coming forward, and even that 86, you'll now see, we witnessed another regime which came into play and provided for freedom of association and freedom of speech. And you would see a lot of documents, a lot of laws that were enacted to be able to protect the rights of artists and also the rights of the citizens. And you'll be able to see quite a number of them. Between 86 to probably 2000, there was a lot of documentation and a lot of freedom for the artists, including people who drew cartoons and people who would be able to make shows. You all know about the various artistic works that kept going on. And more importantly, most of them were done at the National Theatre. And therefore, you'll find that now we have laws that talk about freedoms. And that is a regime that came, and you could see a lot of that. Of course, there is a time when we also had a lot of some of our shows in some radio stations. Some people would not be allowed, and of course that is where the problem would arise. And of course, a lot of people then at that time, particularly artists, then decided that they wanted to go and enact laws. So you'll see now a lot of our artists going into parliament to be able to make laws so that they can fight for artistic rights. And that is another regime, and you could see some of us here. I'm trying to look at it chronologically so that maybe it helps me to understand. Of course, now as we talk, there is that right that we have been talking about. You realize that at a certain time, just a few years ago, artists would produce they would have their productions, but then the laws that would protect their products were not strong enough to keep them. It was there, it was enacted, but not strong enough because of the copyright and neighborhood rights were not properly protected. And artists came out to agitate and also demand that the law be revised or amended. And that process has been going on, and soon there will be a brand new law in terms of the rights of artists, whereby as an artist, if you did your song, you can copyright it and so forth, so that nobody else would be able to infringe. And if somebody infringes, then you'll be able to sue that person and be able to benefit from your works. That is another stage at which we are in. There is also another stage where artists are now demanding to have a lot of the activities that have been scattered. you realize that there are some laws that relate to artists that are with the Uganda Communications Commission, and then there are also some laws that relate to art and culture, which is in the Ministry of Tourism, and then of course I've just spoken of one which is with the judiciary. A lot of demands from artists is that some of these laws that are in different places scattered should be brought under one house. A lot of demand, you could hear people talking about, we need a ministry. That's the demand. People are still talking about artistic rights. Those are some of the things that I could recount and the things that I could maybe speak about as a host, as I welcome you here as we talk about the artistic rights. We have also, as UNCC, in one way or another, we have also infringed on some of the artist rights. We have infringed, for instance, we nowadays do not allow you to just come and do your productions or sit anywhere. We would want you to get permission from us so that as you sit in certain areas, then you'll be able to do it. That is an infringement, but of course from a manager's perspective, I'm trying to bring order. And that's where the issue of infringement comes in, whether infringement should be absolute or there should be some order in it. And therefore, artistic rights need to be at two levels. If you are an artist, you must know also where you move and stop, because there are also some laws that would bar you, and then you should also be able to know that certain things that you do have consequences. So you need to know the rights and obligations. So as artists, we also have obligations to be able to observe the laws as it is in the country, as well as we can be able to express ourselves as it is provided for here. I must now remind you that in the UNESCO conference of, I think, 2020, I was privileged to lead the Ugandan delegation in terms of art and culture, and I sat in the culture convention. One of the things that came out, and I think this is an area that you people need to debate, there was a big documentation saying that Uganda was violating not only artists' rights, but also violating the rights of journalists, and became a big issue. But of course, that document is an old document, and they do not really bring it to today, but they circulated it, and all that they were talking about it was that Uganda was violating. Of course, it was our duty to be able to correct that impression, and we told them that yes, at certain time such happened. But now, at least you'd see that there is a change, as much as, in some cases they're still there, but we all preach that there must be rights and obligations. So the rights are not absolute. And those are the things that I wanted to say. Having said all those many things, I want to again welcome you to the UNCC, and specifically the National Theatre, and also to this very beautiful place, the Green Room, where most of you have been using. And I want to thank you, and I want to wish everybody a fruitful deliberations as we put a precursor for the International Theatre Day. You're most welcome, and God bless you as we discuss these things. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much, Edie. So ladies and gentlemen, we've been officially invited and welcomed in this space by the ED, and want to take this opportunity to thank you, sir, for giving us an opportunity to have a platform where we can articulate, discuss, and also look at matters that are somehow affecting, empowering, and also promoting the Uganda creative and culture industries. Ladies and gentlemen, many of us may be asking ourselves, what is PANAF? PANAF is a Pan-African Network for Artistic Freedom. and is an initiative advocating for freedom of artistic expression in the creative sector. It's one of the bodies that is trying to see that every artist around Africa can actually have a right in the best way they can, express their art in whatever they do. So we are privileged to have PANAF as our partners and sponsors of the first edition of this PANAF Talks, kyetuyise EKIMEEZA. So EKIMEEZA kisoose nga kya creative and cultural industries. And to your information, Mr. Edie, we have 6 panelists who were carefully selected from the diverse, maybe from the different domains that we have. We have a panelist from media. We have a panelist from visual arts. We have a panelist from film. We have a panelist from music. We have a panelist from theater and policy making, and to mention that is Honorable Rachel Magola. So please, ladies and gentlemen, to help you dig down into this first EKIMEEZA, at this symposium, will be able to establish a strong foundation for the future discussions on artistic freedom and policy development. Will also help us provide a comprehensive overview of the current landscape of the artistic rights in Uganda. And number 3, highlight key issues affecting artists across various disciplines. As Edie was standing here, he mentioned something to do with a report that came out from somewhere saying that Uganda violates the rights of journalists. I don't know what report will come out from the recent Kawempe North saga. As far as journalists are concerned, we'll also use this symposium to encourage dialogue and collaborate among creatives, policymakers, and industry stakeholders. Our main objectives, we want to be able to raise awareness on the importance of artistic rights and freedom in Uganda, identify challenges hindering artistic expression, and explore potential solutions. Encourage cross-sector collaborations between creatives, policymakers, and cultural institutions. Lay the groundwork for stronger cultural policies and legal protections for the artists. So our panelists will be helping us discuss this topic in that line and put in mind those 4 objectives that we must achieve today as we discuss the status of the artists' rights in Uganda. So it's going to be a groundbreaking edition. It's the first one. We want to encourage our viewers online to understand that this will be happening every last Wednesday of every month right here at National Theatre, and we seek your support. Everyone in this room, everyone online, we seek your support. If you want to participate on this forum physically, please contact UNCC or look out for our email. You can look out for any platform that has PANAF. It can be Culture Connect, it can be 256 Film Agenda, it can be Uganda National Culture Center. You'll be part of this live audience. And then the other thing that we want to put across is to also support UNCC to be able to provide this space. The support, I mean, your attendance is very important. The senior practitioners in this room, you being part of the first edition, please don't give up. Come again and again and again so that we help articulate the issues affecting the creatives in Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, I would love to take this opportunity to welcome the first panelist, and that will be none other than one powerful performer, an artist, musician, to be specific, and recently became the Honorable Member of Parliament. Not only that, she took on a chair of a chairpersonship of the Uganda Parliamentary Forum for Creative Industries, and that is none other than Honorable Rachel Magola. Please, you're most welcome to take your seat. I would love to see you sit near those ngoma.
Okay.
Since you're a musician, and you're welcome. To take on the second panelist, I'll invite a gentleman I've admired for some time. He's labeled as a person who introduced journalism in Uganda. He articulates issues, and as a creative, you sometimes deepen your thinking into his issues, and he gives you line to breathe. That is none other than Mr. Bate. You're most welcome, Sebo. We appreciate every work you do for the journalists. Sit next to Madame. Yes. Now, many of us have been wondering, there are campaigns that have been taking place on the platforms. Some of you ask yourselves, who is that guy? Who is behind him? He's the executive secretary, Paulwood. He's also a country representative for PANAF, if I'm not mistaken. He's doing a lot of work in film. He's one of the guys actually that helps the film sector wake up sometimes when some policy leaders or regulators go astray. And he wakes up and tells, hey guys, this is what is happening. You need to wake up. I would love to take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Muzei Wanika. He has that name and everyone thinks he's a big, gigantic man. I wanted you to sit next to Honorable. I wanted you to sit next to Honorable so that mugeya mpola mpola. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, at the Uganda National Culture Center, we have a place called the Craft Village. He's the former chairman of the NACAU. He's also abegeyanga njogera si kirungi. He's the former chairman of NACAU. He's a renowned Ugandan visual artist, and he's artist, or I would call him art historian and a cultural custodian. He is known for his expertise in traditional Ugandan art and culture. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Noah Nyanzi, oba owekitiibwa Noah Nyanzi. Mukolo Nyanzi, nsaba otuule akantu kaliwe kali National Arts and Culture. Yes, let me also take this opportunity to introduce, I don't know if I really need to introduce him, but he's a man that I have worked with. He's also a man that has helped me at some point penetrate Makerere University with the idea of film and culture. As a man I walked to some years back to come and support the Uganda young film writers, to take them through a 3-day workshop. And he was so flexible. He did not give me haddock in access. He gave me a lot of advice and ideas on how best to approach certain things. He's a lecturer and he's a mentor. He is a script writer, developer, an actor, and one admired monologue artist that I recently witnessed unveiling the first monologue on the famously publicized play, The Rope, Mr. or Dr. Mulekwa. You're most welcome. Omwami ogwo mulaba yakuba monologue. Naffe abazanyi ne tugamba naye nga tukyakola ki? Yes, lastly, I would love to take this opportunity, welcome a gentleman, young, vibrant, one that has shaken the pillars of UPRS. Recently, he bachitati kutwala bukulembeze by surprise, who is now the chairman, board Uganda Performers
Property Rights
Society, UPRS. Mr. Nkoyoyo the artist, and the musician. He's an actor that we also celebrate. We want to also take this opportunity on this first edition of our EKIMEEZA to thank you for the great work you're doing for the musicians at UPRS. Thank you. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, with great men and women in the creative space. We cannot avoid to say these gentlemen and ladies have added a lot of value to our sector to enable us see certain things. Honorable Rachel Magola has just concluded a sensitization campaign on the review of the culture policy, which is something that we appreciate so much. Bwanika is still pushing his campaign of artists should have enough rights, boycott UFF. We also appreciate his effort because everyone has something. Mr. Bate is doing a great job in the journalism space. Mnua Nyanzi is doing a very great job down here educating young, creative, passionate generations that actually want to learn about art and use art to tell their stories. Mr. Nyanzi, we celebrate you. Mr. Mulekwa, we appreciate the effort that you are doing at Makerere University and the empowering you're doing in the young students to appreciate art, film, music, and everything. Mr. Nkoyoyo, we are celebrating you for the great transformation that is happening at UPRS because of your chairmanship as the board. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to allow our panelists to take 3 minutes to give us what we would call a general statement. Our topic today is as simple as eating matoke because we are in Uganda. The status of artistic rights in Uganda. In whatever domain you come from or space you operate in, we would love you to take 3 minutes, each one of you, to give us a clear view of what is really happening in that space as far as our topic is concerned. I'll take it from the left. As I stand like this, where's my left? This side. When I stand like this, where's my left? Let's begin with this left. Stage left. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Musinguzi, and thank you, PANAF and UNCC and all the other stakeholders involved for this great opportunity. I want to send some shout outs to all my fellow panelists. I think it's a great honor for me to sit on this panel with such big names that some of them I only heard of when I was still very young, and I never thought a day would come and I'll be sharing the same stage. I remember one time when I was starting out as an artist, I visited Mr. Bate's base in Uganda. Now, I'll come from a perspective of the CMOs, because at the moment, I happen to be the chair at UPRS, or Uganda Performing Rights Society, which is the CMO for musical works in Uganda, managing musical rights. So I think the choice was very good. I'm befitting to be talking about artistic rights. When the CEO was making his preamble, I did listen to him give a chronology of where thing called about rights came from. More so we're dealing with artistic rights. Before the independence and slightly after post-independence, we had the PRS of UK managing artistic rights in Uganda. And they only left, rightfully, as he said, during Amini's time. So for that period, up to about from early 70s when PRS of UK left until 1985, we were in a vacuum. There was nothing like anybody, you know, trying to steer the management of rights. Now, in 1985, mainly performers and publishers teamed up together and so that there was a need to come up with a body that would manage artistic rights. And UPRS was formed in 1985. I was still a very young man. I was born then. But then now you can see the transformation that I'm now at the helm. So UPRS was formed as Uganda Performing Rights Society, but then it was also managing literal works, it was managing audiovisual rights, it was managing all bundles of rights until at a later date, where we stand right now, we have 3 CMOs managing creative rights. We have UFMI handling audiovisual rights, and we also have Euro in the house, Mr. Charles Batamze. Thank you for being in. But all these are children that were birthed from UPRS. So, UFMI managing audiovisual, and then Euro managing literal works. And then UPRS remained with the mandate to manage musical works. But the status quo at the moment, yes, there is an amendment in Parliament right now being handled about the copyright, the 2006, because actually the 2006 had only come, it was also an amendment from what the colonialists had left us. We only got to get an amendment in 2006, which is the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act 2006. It's what we are having, but then you will all appreciate that there's been a lot of transformation from 2006. We didn't have TikTok, we didn't have Instagram, all these digital platforms. You realize that perhaps they did not envision that a time would come when most of our creations would be consumed digitally. So there is, it necessitated that an amendment had to be made to match the times. But then, there is little appreciation of artistic rights, and the problem is not the absence of the law. I want to blame the absence of the law on probably 2 factors. One is the general ignorance that cuts across about the copyright law. There's general ignorance that cuts across right from the creatives, the enforcers, and even those that are supposed to defend it. There's general ignorance about the law. So I think that is a point that we need to mitigate. And also, somewhat, I think everything in Uganda has become, in the near past, it has become political. That we have politics encroaching on almost every other sector. So, how does it affect artistic rights? It is sometimes lack of the political will to really enforce the law as it is. Just like when we talk about having enforcement to get hold of those who are infringing on our works as creatives, I think we need to do more in that space. I think I've gone past the 3 minutes that were given to me, and I want to behave. Thank you.
Thank you. The party I wanted to thank just stepped out, so I will withhold the thanks. But then let me thank the institution for hosting us. I don't know whether you're right or wrong to choose me, but I do know that these jobs are done by many of us along the way, and every one of us brings their small portion. I want to also thank Mr. Msinguzi for making us sound better than we actually are, but we appreciate the gesture. It also gives me a lot of pleasure to sit on a panel with people I'm very pleased to be meeting, some of them for ages. I've not met this man since we were young and handsome when we were boys. But the other 2 or 3 of people here are very, very personal friends. Personal in that we are truth tellers to each other. And truth teller is that one who tells you exactly what you don't want to hear. Yeah? But it is a necessary truth. Now that you're back, Ms. Ojeda, I was going to start with you by saying thank you very much for hosting us. And thank you for the preamble. I had moderators call for this being monthly. That's a good step forward in terms of enabling artistic practice as well as artistic rights, because I think that rights become our consciousness if we discuss them and we learn and unlearn what is right and what is wrong, what needs to be done better, and so on. So the monthly call is a good idea, and maybe for us panelists to know that we don't always have to be panelists to be present. So I'll be willing to come and sit there, but I hope also that on the event there will be at least an item or 2 of artistic practice. I understand today there are 2 play readings, and I look forward to attending those. Now, I have been given my area. Oh, let me just say, PANAF, and I'm told this is EKIMEEZA. If you are keen on the politics of Uganda, and you said everything has become very political, the word EKIMEEZA is a very sensitive word. So, organizers of the symposium, think and rethink. It's actually a word that is even cost a life or 2, if you follow keenly what has happened. So, but going forward, I know that I belong in the realm of theater. That's my area. It's been given. I am happy occasionally to be a visitor in the area of TV, radio, and also film, but I go there as a visitor. My home is theater. And for those who may or may not know, theater is the grandparent of them all, so I'm happy to look after the homestead. Okot, after all, told us don't uproot the pumpkin from the old pumpkin from the homestead. So I'm very comfortable in the area of theater. As a theater artist in Uganda, talking about the past, I think the real right for any artist, the best right, and I'm talking this from personal experience, not book knowledge, would be if those who work with us, those who employ us, those who run the different organizations, all these bodies named here, all of us who claim to be leaders in our different sectors would be if we actually delivered to those we work with what we say we are out to do. So if we say that we've come to do a play, if we actually deliver the play, and if we tell a young person that you are coming to perform, we actually deliver the performance in which their time there can be meaningful, their life can grow meaningfully, their pockets can, smile at the end of the event. But there's a lot of loopholes in these areas, and we consistently do it because mostly we can get away with it. So the rights are there. The writings are there. People have written. We all know that it is wrong to ask funding for production and instead go and build something else. But the consequences are zero to nothing. We all know that it's wrong to gather a group of youth and tell them, let's do this production and go and get a different kind of money from the box office, but tell them a different story. But the consequences of that are also zero to nothing. So we need to move towards that direction. And I learned when I was in secondary school, a group leader we went and performed at a school, then he disappeared for a month. So we went to perform without him, and I was at the gate. But when I came away from the gate, maybe because I was a child, I just got the money and they gave everybody their pay. Because the money was there in my hands. The students had paid to walk in. So the first really right is to treat people with some sense of dignity. So that even as an artist, I can perform for nothing if I believe that we are all performing for nothing. But to be told arts for art's sake, and then tomorrow you show up in a car that would make a god envious, I'm not sure that I want to be that kind of artist. But I do not know, me as an artist, because I'm not a policeman, I'm not a lawyer, I really do not know what to do about those things. I know that those are the problems. I know that those are the loopholes. I know that if we respected those gaps, our rights would improve. The idea of payment is crucial. And right now, for me, from the previous term to now, we still have impoverished artists. And if artists lack, then the chance that they will compromise themselves in situations that they shouldn't is just forever bigger. So that, how is it wrong that if I come to act for you and you tell me, you act this play, I'm going to pay you 750. Why do you get upset if I want to negotiate that to 1 million? Yeah, I think that artists should know you have a right to negotiate your contract. And I would never fire someone for attempting to negotiate a contract. But these are the kind of threats that linger over the artist. Having said that, I think also that the other one is the question of the politics hovering over the arts. There's nobody now who does anything without looking over their shoulder, without worrying about the color yellow or the color red. And I don't know what others will do. For me, I know this, that some people believed that it is their right to get the gun and fight for this country. I believe it is my right to make plays and fight for this country. And so that's what I'm here to do, to make plays again and again that comment on what it means to be a Ugandan today. That's my right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mukulubate. Maybe before Mukulubate comes in, I would love to confidently empower you panelists that you are selected in a rightful way. You deserve that seat, you have performed, and you deserve to be appreciated. Thank you so much. Mukulubate, you have 4 minutes to tell us the status of the journalist's rights within that space. Kati oli mu engeri gyali munnamawulire ebiseera ebisinga ebiseera ebisinga bw'omuwa eddakiika ntono.
Okay.
Oh God.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Joseph Bate, and all protocol observed. I take this opportunity to thank whoever came up with this idea. This is very, very brilliant. The politicians are making noise on the radio, wherever, with their EKIMEEZAs, and we can also make our noise here. I remember the time formerly before, if you read the New Vision or any other newspaper, there was nothing like the arts, like no pages talking about the entertainment industry. So I went to William Pike and said, the paper is stale. Now, telling a Mzungu that the paper is stale, he almost blushed. The face went white, and he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "You know what I mean. It's because there's no entertainment. There's nothing like music. There's nothing like theater. Nothing at all. No reviews." He asked me one question. He said, "Joseph, can you do it?" And that was the beginning of the music reviews and the music reporting in the newspaper. And we have never looked back. Now, I won't go, we haven't suffered a lot. Music journalists haven't suffered a lot. We get the tickets, the free tickets, we get the drinks, they give us the money, we go and attend. So we haven't suffered. But what have we seen? The gentleman who opened the symposium for us today talked about something. He said that much as I'm rephrasing, much as the artists deserve the rights or ask for the rights, we also infringe on those rights as well. And it has happened, for several years. Been taking whatever. Do we have copyrights before? Yes. Nkoyoyo talked about it. I'll give you an example. Hadija Namale. Do you know Hadija Namale? One of those old musicians. They travel, they go to Congo, and she falls in love with a song by Franco. So in order she felt she could sing that song as a woman, but she could not do it without permission. So what does she do? She goes to Kinshasa, meets Franco, and asks for permission to read the song. So she comes back and records the song. Afrigo Band, when they were recording a song which has a line that has Nabutono manyongani mugwe, Nabutono ngolu dokulabika. Now, do you know the original song of Nabutono? That is the very first Kadongo Kamu song that was written by Eli Wamala. But in order to record that small bit, Afrigo Band, or Moses Matopo, had to go and ask for permission from Eli Wamala to include that. It's just a small, everybody, most of the people who love Afrigo Band, they know that line. Nabuto namanyi, and that is the same song that goes, Nabuto namanyi gandi mukwe, Nabuto nongolu dokulabika. Now, the first one of Kadongo Kamu's first songs that was recorded on vinyl. But Moses Matovo sought for permission. A couple of years down the road, Paul Kafero records Dipo Nazigala. Then, I'm talking about Bobby Wine, the musician, not Kyagulanyi, the politician. Now, Bobby Wine, the musician, gets the same song, Dipo Nazigala, without permission, sings it, scores a hit, makes millions, and then the man who bought the rights flies in from South Africa. Now tell me what you think happened on that day. It was scandalous. Bobby Wine singing a song, which song had been bought, like sold off completely, the rights were sold off. He sings without seeking permission from the owner of this, the man who, because he was a simple, humble, soft-spoken man. And he was enjoying life in South Africa, so he flies back and says, Otyo, Sebo,
Akange kaliwa.
Akange kaliwa, where is the money? What did you do? I have never seen Bobby Wine sweat like he sweated during that period. I think at the end of the day, the man just looked at him and said, "No, I think this is typical Uganda. It is a man-eat-man society. People are thriving on each other's sweat. Let me go." He didn't stop at that. And the song called, titled Abalungi Balumya. That song, which I think you know, is not his original composition. It was recorded by a musician called Lord Laro. Now he performs the song and he's everywhere. And then the man gets in touch and writes. Okay? So what is happening? I'm just painting for you a picture that there's a lot of copyright infringement taking place. Lord Raro complained about him using that song. It's not his composition. So, the rights, much as the musicians are asking for their rights, are they in a way infringing on the rights of other people as well? He observed it, you has observed it, everybody knows about that. The musicians themselves are also breaking the same laws. They are breaking them. The last example I will give you is a song, an oldie song called Boys, Boys. It was sung by Sabrina. Boys, boys, boys. Now the video, we know the video very well. She's in the pool. But if you watch that video, as she's jumping up and down, the breast pops out and exposes the nipple, her nipple, Sabrina. That song was banned in Britain. They didn't play it on TV, specifically for that small incident that happened in that video. But we have artists here who have been using vulgarity, profanity, body parts showing whatever, almost going on the stage nude. What are they doing? They are singing songs which are vulgar, and the kids, the following day, the whole village has come alive. Then you read the UNCC, the one with their charters and so. So they're saying anybody who uses imagery, who uses this, who uses that, will be banned, will be prosecuted. And we have all these songs all over. So what are the artists doing? Breaking the same laws that they are fighting for.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
That's my pleasure.
I have.
Oh,
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Edie, for this. I'm really excited that the arts have got, like my colleagues have said, a place to sit and talk about the issues that are happening in the industry. So we're talking about what is the status of rights now. And at the risk of repeating what everybody else has said, I think Dr. Charles brought it out very clearly. We talk about the laws that are in place, copyright law, the Stage and Performances Act, all the laws that many artists feel are infringing on the rights of the artists. When I came here to talk about rights, that was my mindset. What are the laws in place? And I mean, the Stage and Performance Act is against human rights of the artists. And we already have a petition at Parliament. It was delivered by some artists, and we are looking for space to bring it on the table so that we speak about it between the ones enforcing the laws and the ones who are suffering from the enforcement of those laws. But when we come from there and come to where Dr. Charles started, one of the biggest problems we have right now is we ourselves infringing against each other. I think it's one of the biggest things. I keep commenting about this, and I say, the fight to find the right to be able to perform whenever we need to perform, the right to income, to be compensated the way we should be, the right needs to start with us. So the laws exist, they are there, but we ourselves are the first to infringe against us and against fellow artists. Uganda, there's so much ignorance about the arts that sometimes you are shocked by how ignorant we are. In countries where art is moving very well, training for the arts starts at a very young age. In Sweden, for instance, you learn an instrument until you're 9. And that's when you choose whether to continue playing the instrument or saying, buy arts. But this person who says buy to arts is the one who sits in the theater to watch the plays, because the artistic palette has been prepared to appreciate theater, to appreciate visual arts, to appreciate music, to appreciate all the different arts that exist. Here, the palette goes blunt from day one by a father telling a child, because the parents think a child who loves to sing at school is performing badly. Even when they get the report, when the child has performed well, he will still say, the mindset of our Ugandans, and we really can't blame people because it's the history we have gone through. But I think the death of the artistic palette started in the Mafuta Mingi age. When Amin came to power, everybody started thinking about Mafuta Mingi, we need to make money. Now that's why we find that even the artist is so anxious to make money and infringes on fellow artists because they are acting like Mafuta Mingis. Everybody is looking after themselves. Even when they get the opportunities. He mentioned it. He said, people will buy storage houses when money is supposed to go to an artistic project. We know this. And also, as people in the arts, we need to stop acting like, I am the one who has delivered. I am the one it is me. Because then instead of fighting for the rights that we are looking for, we are fighting to be the dominant in delivering anything in the arts. I'm the king, I'm so and so, I'm the one who knows so and so, I'm the one who can reach so and so. Oh, that one is Yepanka. She's not even, MPs are not even supposed to be doing policy. And I said, I'm an MP, but I'm an artist. For 36 good years, I've been on this, singing at 1 a.m. in the night when everybody else is sleeping. I come on this stage with the right to try and look, how can we prepare our industry so that our grandchildren see a better life.
Okay. Let me ask you, Honorable, a question. Just a question.
Are we paneling?
No, no, I'm not. Yeah. The journalist is
The journalist is speaking. Is
where do you think? Where do you think this came from? The stealing of songs. Why are artists stealing other people's songs? Why are artists cheating other people?
It's a value system problem. We have no accountability. We know something will not happen to me. Even when it can happen, I know I can go and see that officer and that can go away. We are struggling with the value systems breakdown. Nobody is ashamed to do anything anymore. So, like I said, in brief, 1 minute, I just want to say that the laws exist. Some are prohibitive, and those we can do something about. Together. We need to work together. If you're good in film, I'm not good in film. Those good in film, take that path and do something about it. Then eventually we'll converge as an industry and make sure that our rights are well protected through the law, protected through our individual, passionate instinct to protect each other. Because if we not do this, even if we get a ministry and we get commissioners who, when the money comes, they'll go and build a house, will still stay in the same place. So it's a value systems battle that we need to get into.
Thank you
Value
so much,
each other.
Honorable. Thank you so much, Honorable. Let's welcome our brother from the film sector, Mzee Bwanika.
Thank you so much. And first, I wish to thank the Executive Director of UNCC for hosting us. It is a very special moment that we are having as a sector to have a EKIMEEZA for the creative sector. Yes, like our fellow panelists said, expressed the doctor, you know, EKIMEEZA is a very strong word, but if the politicians have used it to shape their ecosystem, how about us? I think it's time for us to also use the same style to actually shape our ecosystem. Once again, my name is Mzee Bwanika, and I'm the Executive Secretary for Parlwood. Parlwood is an umbrella organization of filmmakers. And in the 3 minutes given to me, I think I can ably reflect on the justice, the social justices in our communities. A person will rear their chicken for 2 months, and at the end of the day, somebody steals it, and the entire village will gang up to stone the thief. What happens to a filmmaker in Uganda? They will spend 6 months making money, spend another 6 months, produce a movie, and they put a movie on the market, and somebody steals it, and everybody will be like, no, but it is normal to steal a film. You know, it is so funny that we are tending to forget that artistic rights are equally human rights. Just like somebody rears their chicken, and at the end of the day, they want to eat it, enjoy it for Christmas or sell it to the market, the same way a creative will go and produce something to earn something from this particular thing. I don't know, from the film sector, from the film perspective, we have a history of trying to operationalize the copyright law. We put it to test in 2010, came along 2013, and then we reached at the helm of enforcement in 2016-15, where we had some of the biggest pirates arrested in the country. They thought they were not touchable at the time. And how are they surviving? They are surviving because of the technical know-how. They know people within the state that can actually save them. In 2019, we tried the same thing, and still the thieves, the smugglers, the burglars are surviving because of the political ecosystems. They know somebody. And guess what happens? We have the biggest pirates, the broadcasters. Mr. Batte was talking about, you know, a musician singing about vulgar music. But nobody asks about this kind of music that is shown on TV, where these white people are naked, barely naked. Nobody asks about the films that are being aired on TV, not classified, not censored. Nobody, the Ugandan community, we have so much gotten soaked into a wrong thing that we now start to believe it is the right thing. We have the ministers of integrity, ethics, and you wonder, what are they doing in office? We have a full minister for ICT who is in charge of regulating the broadcasters and so what, and they are seated comfortably watching vulgar music imported into Uganda. And nobody asks, what is wrong with our generation? We are discussing moral degeneration and nobody asks about the cause. Why? Because somewhere along the way, artistic rights were scrapped off the manifest of human rights. So to us, from the background of filmmakers, I think it is high time we wake up and start to appreciate that until the economic rights of a trader in a window market, the economic rights of a manufacturer in Uganda Manufacturers Association, the economic rights of Bagaga Kwagarana that build the buildings in Kampala, are the same economic rights of the filmmakers, of the creatives in this country, of the journalists. We were having the by-elections in Kawempe. I come from Kawempe. And we all saw the kind of violence that was melted on the journalists. And trust me, we've been telling broadcasters, but you guys, it is wrong to break the law because nobody is immune to an illegality. Why are you showing an illegal content? When the journalists, Mr. Watewe, faced the violence, they actually remembered that there is reason to have the laws respected. Yeah. You see, the moment we create room for abuse of the law, we are going to create room for abuse of the entire environment. So I think it is important for us this time that we start discussing, we start having the EKIMEEZA as creatives to discuss the way our sector has been reduced. Money has been poured into our sector and nobody minds about the accountability. Why? Why is it that it's only in our sector that things are done anyhowly? So, that said, I am a film producer for over 20 years, and I believe we can contribute ably to national development if only our rights are equally respected. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mzee Wanika. Thank you so much. Yes, let's hear from Mr. Owechitiibwa Nyanzi.
Thank you very much, moderator. Thank you very much, ED, for hosting us, and PANAF, thank you for inviting us, and ladies and gentlemen, thank you for showing up to listen to what we have to share today. I'm Noah Wamalanya, as a visual arts practitioner and consultant. Correction, I was the vice chair of NACAU, not chair.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
The chair was the chair was the late Honorable Joyce Impanga. May her soul rest in peace. Yeah. I was her vice chair for 20 years, and I don't regret it. I benefited a great deal from her wisdom, counsel, and the respect she commanded. I have not seen any other person who commanded as much respect as the late Joyce Impanga. Whenever you'd go, like, I remember there's a time when I called the minister, I said, I would like to meet you on a certain issue. I said, when? And we said, okay, Monday, I'll be in the office. 2 ministers of culture, on short notice, accepted an invitation, an appointment to see them. And I saw one near in her office, and she's not a Uganda. So, but why am I bringing in Mrs. Joyce Impanga? She was a policymaker, a politician, an administrator who appreciated and loved the arts to the end. If we had a few people like her, we would be very far, would be enjoying the benefits of our creativity. She retired from all boards except NACAU. She was the chair till a few weeks before she passed on. She declined to take any other position except that. Now, I'm from the visual arts side. Ours, you people, hey, you guys are okay. Let me describe ourselves. We call ourselves, we are orphans. We are deprived. We are not unrecognizable, unrecognized. We are even unappreciated. Why? Because one, voluntary ignorance on the leadership side, and selective amnesia on the leadership side. I'm talking about the administration of the country. It's not because they don't know what we do and what we are capable of doing. It's because they choose not to know. It's voluntary ignorance. It's not because they do not recognize that we have done a good job. They have recognized, but they have decided to suffer selective amnesia. All the institutions, all the instruments of we got at independence, the presidents have been overthrown, ministries have been scrapped, almost everything has changed. Offices have been looted, except the things which remain constant and have never been changed were artistic creations. One, the coat of arms has never changed. All presidents have changed and have used the same coat of arms. The flag, the national flag, has remained the same. And the national anthem has remained the same. Why? Do you mean these people don't realize that our contribution is great and important? No, they just decide not to appreciate it. Visual arts starts from the nursery bed, the baby cot. What do you put there? Pictures, dolls, and kind of stuff. Those are creative works of the visual artist. But what happens? Primary school is deleted. There's no art. Secondary school, there's no art. Then it reemerges in the tertiary institutions. And you wonder, why do away with it when you know it was the primary, it's your foundation? You should have continued. Actually, fine art or art and crafts should be a constant, should be compulsory, because it does a lot of things. It helps you understand, appreciate, and also it's therapeutic. The teaching aids are actual artistic creations, but then you're not empowering these people to actually create their own teaching aids. Let's go to the why do I say we are deprived? You'll hear people say, we don't know your contribution towards the national development. I happen to come from Nakau, where we started occupying that place since 1994. And we have since paid over 2 billion Uganda shillings. But the government will not hesitate to say, but what is your contribution towards the GDP? But they have received this money directly. It's not through other avenues. That's from ground rate. Okay? But guess what? In appreciation of that, the Attorney General advised that we should pay the 400 million that we incurred when they locked us down. That's the advice from the Attorney General's office. Yet, you hear top government officials saying the businessmen should consider waiving the rent during lockdown for their tenants. Government demands this money. They put, I think Mr. Ojeri is at gunpoint all the time. He said, where is the money? Where is the money? But these are the people who locked us down. And they know what we do. And guess what? When they get their visitors, do you know where they come? To give them the Ugandan experience. Right here. The late Ron Brown, when he was supposed to meet the president, he was delayed. He asked the ambassador, what do we do with the 1 hour? And guess what? They said, let's go to the Nakau Arts and Crafts Village. No, they said, let's go to the National. By the way, they said, let's go to the National Theatre. They come, he spent there 1 hour, and then went back. So those are but what am I, looking at our status, there's a time when I'd just come back, and Billy Kavma had done very beautiful cards, batik cards, which they had, these were greeting cards, and they were selling them at the Sheraton. Now, then next thing I seen the new, I was also invited at the Civil Aviation Authority to provide drawings for the floor plan. They wanted to renovate their offices, repartition their offices. So I submitted the drawing plans, and guess what? Next thing I hear that they had used my plans to and given the job to prisons to construct the partitionings. I sent them an invoice, and they paid me. So what am I saying? Our rights, as much as we have not had serious problems, but the cartoonists have had serious problems. Because they ignore us, that's why we can make posters, that kind of stuff, and don't let it problems. But the thing remains, our contribution should not be underestimated. And we should not copy others, deprive others of their right to when you copy, pay the royalty. The person is who may have who created the original piece. Because we have them copying left, right, and center. At Nakau, hey, they pick it from the internet, redraw it, and then it's bad. Over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for that insightful and very informative statements and challenges. Now, for this session, members online, we thank you for engaging. We have a question to Dr. Mulekwa and Bate, who have, okay. Semju says to Dr. Mulekwa and Bate, who have participated in national schools MDDs, what can be done better, mainly with the teachers who mistreat art students? That conception, where artists that actually, we've seen it, even the president of this country saying they should appreciate more the science teachers than the artist teachers. So I think also, Mr. Edi, do we still have MDDs, national MDDs?
We do.
For the schools?
We do.
We do.
The festivals
We do have school festivals.
around the country.
Oh.
They are no longer.
But they are no longer in one spot. They go around the country.
Oh, okay. Okay, for this other session, we want to particularly bring out the challenges. Please help us. We're going to use 5 minutes each. Fena teria kumye budde kujja yoyo yayisemu ko seconds ana. Yagezezzaako manyi agezaako Okay, for the next session, we really want to articulate the challenges in each domain.
You can read later sometime, no problem.
Yeah, because we want to look at those challenges, and then at sometimes what are we doing to curb those challenges at our level in our domain spaces. Because I've also realized, Edie, that as UNCC, there's some things, a lot of things that we, as the institution, needs to address in terms of artist rights. The misconception and the ideology of abusing artists within the schools from the infant age, and also where Mr. Nyanzi talked about how kids are introduced to art. I've just realized that actually it is visual arts that introduces a human to art. Because we were kazala kabebi byosoko kugula obuntu ntubwalaba butoys, you get. And I think now the visual artists have a responsibility to bring back that pride right from family level. Yeah, we need to get to that. When it comes to policy, Madam Honorable, we need to engage that house to appreciate art. Mkulu Bate, I would also urge you to help us, the journalists fraternity, to begin to appreciate art, because of course, we've seen journalists engaging more than musicians, than the poets, the filmmakers, the dancers. We need to have that, and that's the reason why I said that each person on this panel was selected for a reason. We lay a foundation to see how best we can engage together as a fraternity and then begin to appreciate the effort of every creative. And probably even the issues of the artistic rights that are being infringed, they will be curbed at that level, because that's when we get to know someone is doing this. If we don't know, probably the artist may also not know that my song has been abused or my art has been used somewhere without my right. And then to Dr. Mulekwa, I would love to also send you are in the space of education. We need the education fraternity to begin to appreciate art at all levels. One of these questions that has come in online shows you that osanga abazadde omwana baba ali mazina. Especially schools that don't have curriculums that cover that sector. I've seen the normal schools, you sit in class from morning to evening, taking notes.
Can I answer that? The two questions from
It's one. Directed to two people.
Okay. I will just give an example of my experience. I regret not meeting my teacher, my music teacher. I was in P3 when I started playing instruments. I got the ego, I was the best drummer, best this, best that. The man beat me up and told me to cry and laugh at the same time. Then he told me that I'm beating you, but one day you may thank me. This could be your bread and butter. And indeed it came to pass. Now, a teacher who beats a child kuba ayimba or is doing a very big disservice to that child. He should give the child the platform, the encouragement, because the music I know today and the experience I use today is from primary 3, from primary school. Unfortunately, my teacher died. I would have gone back to him and said,
Thank you so much for that. Yes, Dr. Mulekwa, sending you out there to
quickly, I was trained wrong initially. I think I eventually got to learn correctly from observing an excellent director. I was trained, initial directors used to shout at us. So when we started directing, we shouted at others. And that's a method, but it's wrong. It is entirely possible to direct a piece of work without ever shouting at anybody, even if for 3 to 6 months. It does not mean that you are weak. I've since learned that there's actually a lot of power in not shouting. I've just been in Rope, and we did it for 2.5 months. And Kaya did not shout at anybody, no matter what degree of mistake we made. But should fix you if you are being irresponsible. Should really be firm with you. And there was never any need to shout. So I looked forward to coming to rehearsal every day. Every day I'm teaching myself to not shout at anybody. I can state my truth politely and firmly.
Thank you so much. Okay, and the next few minutes will be out. We want to take the next 30 minutes in this engagement. Can we have challenges in your spaces and what you are doing to curb those challenges at that level and in your capacity? Thank you so much. You want to begin? It's okay. We have 5 minutes each person. Let me stand one on Yimina one.
The biggest challenges in my space as a music journalist is one. Everybody thinks he or she can talk about music. The qualifications, the minimum qualifications for writing and talking about the arts is to know a little theory. If it's music, you have to know a little theory about music. Those are the prerequisites for a journalist. Now, most of our journalists that I've met are instead, I'm sorry to say this, but fans. They will tell you, zendi timu Rachel Magola, zendi timu Gundi, and Rachel Magola makes a mistake, and this person does not have the knowledge to point out Rachel Magola. Rachel Magola went on stage and flirted, probably. Didn't pitch. But because you don't have the language, you don't have the theory, you cannot write it. And therefore you cannot educate the masses. So, the biggest challenge of these music bloggers, music whatever TikTokers, those people who talk about that, is the lack of the arts, the particular field that that person jaba agiram gatajirina. Because how can you talk about sound, or how can you talk about a band or a bass player when you don't know anything about the chord progression, or about the melodies, the arrangements? How can you talk about it? So it is education. They have to be educated in order to talk about it.
Are you, as senior journalist, educating them?
I have my own recording studio, and I use it to learn the language, the technical language, and I've studied music, a little music. I've composed, he's my witness. I've composed songs, I've arranged songs for other artists, including Irene Namatovu's Samira Nyumange Janzi, which won an award. I arranged it and co-produced it. So I use that knowledge, but that is a personal investment. So which organization out there will come and help these artists or these journalists to fulfill their potential? That is the task that
Thank you.
they have
Thank
to
you
do.
so much. You manage time right.
All right. The question is, what are the challenges in our particular space, and what are we doing to address the challenges? In my opening remarks, I talked about ignorance as being the biggest challenge to the industry. So I would not want to dig more into that, but I'll go straight into what are the remedies we are trying to do to address that. One, for my own sake, with my new board, I didn't take note of the presence of my director in the house. I have Director Prince Nicholas Nyombi. He's a board member at UPRS. We've set our agenda on only 3 small principles, not in very, very, what I've come to realize that when you go into many of these institutions, they have detailed many strategic plans, work plans, but those things stay on paper. They never come to reality. Now, we've said we are going to base ours on 3 small principles, or simple principles. One is streamlining governance. What do we mean by that? That no matter how big the changes we might want to bring to life, if we've not streamlined the governance, then we shall be building a cobweb. When the resources come, just like you had several panelists talk about here, when the resources come, they only, go through the cobweb, So we are saying we are making sure we are streamlining the governance to make sure that we create a governance that is accountable to its membership. Our CMOs are member-based organizations, and they are limited by guarantee companies. And that still drives into the ignorance. But most of our members, or many of our members, don't know that fact. In fact, most of them, you'll hear them say, ebintu byabo abasajja babbi, ebintu bya government byantama. But these are private organizations where every member has an equal share, and that they should hold the leadership accountable. But they never do. That's why that takes us to our second principle, which is rebuilding membership trust. And how do we do that? Is first of all streamlining the governance, making sure it is a transparent and accountable institution. And then secondly, try as much as possible to educate these ignorant members of ours, trying to create the fact that they actually, this institution does not belong to Nkoyoyo. It belongs to us as the membership. That tomorrow they may choose to say, Nkoyoyo, you are no longer fit to lead us, so please step aside, and Mr. Mulekwa comes in. You get it. You gave me 5 minutes.
Yes, you have 1
Yes,
minute to go.
I have 1 minute to go. Okay. I wanted to also talk about the journalism. I think we have a journalism that has also doesn't know that they are the fourth estate, that they have a responsibility and role to play to build this. They have mostly taken the other principle that, you know, embwa yalumya omuntu is not news, omuntu alumya embwa it is news. So it is the negativity that works. So on several occasions I've actually tried reaching out, and I did get a comment from a journalist who told me, "Nemwe UPR toba wadda amawulire mangi." So they don't want the positive news. They want to wait for the negative stories that will, I don't know. So we need to, as the industry needs to check itself and find what role do they have to play in as far as developing the society. And then fast enough I'll run into another challenge. It is the tech. We can't run away from it. The technological disruptions all over, you know. And with the technological disruptions, of course, it has come with both advantages and disadvantages. The advantage would be that, yes, the world is a global space now, that everyone can actually become successful in that space if they rightfully expose it or utilize it. But then you find that it has also been abused to infringe, and sometimes to, just like the content you were talking about, the explicit content, you know. So it's a challenge that we need to tackle collectively as an industry to see how we find remedies for that. Then I will not forget to talk about the regulatory framework. As CMOs, I think because of the ignorance I did talk about that across the board, there's also that problem of the regulatory framework. Sometimes the regulators not knowing the limits at which they should stop at regulating. You find that some regulators have become managers, and we have a problem with that. But I think that is a discussion we are handling, and we believe it will come to fruitful. And then lastly, let me talk about, lastly, in my last minute, the
last minute is
us as a people, as Ugandans. I think naturally as a people, we don't want to be compliant people, more so with regulation and taxes and what have you. So you find telling someone that, you know, if you pay to get a license, say, to exploit little works or musical works, you are indeed helping a fellow Ugandan or for the industry to survive. But then there are the same people you will find on the side talking about Nigeria, but they don't want to facilitate the same industry they are comparing with the other facilitated one, you know? So I think as a people we need to do something about that.
Shortly
Thank you.
on that, as you put out, filmmakers have an issue of illegal broadcast of content. What comes to your desk when they broadcast, one, unclassified music and also vulgar music? What comes to your desk, or are you only concentrate on collecting You don't
No.
cancel licenses?
No, I'm not concentrating on only collecting, because right now you had Honorable Magola. Was it Honorable Magola talk about, who was, I don't remember who exactly it was. They talked about now, you see, there's also the stage play and what? Performances. So that is a duplication, because now we have a problem. UCC has refused to help us as an industry, as CMOs, to regulate the broadcasters, to tell them that, you know, we won't give you a broadcasting license if you don't have a UPRS or UFMI license. But then they are first to put out announcements on the media, on the radio, telling people, you see, if you're going to have a show, you come and pay for the license, the stage play and the performances, you know. So we really have a problem, and I'm not a supporter of having unclassified work, but I'm saying we need to bring some order into our house such that we don't have so many entities doing almost the same thing.
Okay, thank you so much, but still you did not address my issue. What is UPRS doing in case a TV that you have licensed to have you or pay you rights, whatever they pay for, what happens when they broadcast illegal music, unclassified music, and vulgar music? To you as the chair board, UPRS.
That is not in my mandate, unfortunately. That is why I can't address the vulgar stuff and what have you, because it is not in my mandate. I would be overstepping, because someone would ask me, where do you get the mandate to begin regulating whether this is vulgar or not?
Thank you so much. Yeah. But as a business person, you would have to look at your products that you sell to them.
Not in my mandate.
You would have to. I would love to have Mr. Doctor, if you can also give us in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll be rushed. So I'll try and do it in blade. Challenges and what?
Challenges and what you are doing at your level as.
What I'm doing at my level is, first of all, believing that I'm able and willing to die for drama, personally. So that if I don't know what you do, I don't know if you whatever goes wrong in other places, the areas you will see me fighting in this country is when it comes theater and drama. You will see me up there fighting, because that is my area, that individually. But the other one I'm doing is I go to the university to teach, and I teach at many levels. There's the academic level, because somebody needs to know a theory in order to get marks, and so on. But there's also the practical level. So I have things as basic as, if I get into the classroom before you, it doesn't matter if we're having tea together at the canteen, you are out. And it starts with, Gezi, he will get tired, then they realize you are consistent. Then they all work to get in before you. Simple basics like that. But the other one is also the most interesting one is to have students also regulate each other, look at each other's work, rather than just waiting for me. I've decided it is a 7 at a student level. The students have another world. They have another world other than ours. And there's a way in which my 7, maybe they are 9, or a way in which they may think their 9 is a 9, until we have a discussion and they realize, okay, let's meet at 8. So things like that. But the other challenge we have outside of the learning environment, personally, I don't complain. Productions I've been in, I think journalists have been, I don't know why, but they've been formal, they've been proper, they've not. But if things have been done with other people I'm collaborating with, we've had journalists who come 40 minutes late for the show, stay for 20 minutes, and then want to take you aside, and you tell them quickly the story so they can go right, and wait for the HR or whoever, PR, whoever invited them, to give them an envelope. Now, I say this with care, because for me, it's not happening to me. But people I work with, it's happening to them. I think that's a challenge. On a broader scale, no, at a secondary school level, it is very good that the secondary school drama festivals are now national. They are no longer, I mean, they go from town to town, city to city. This is good. But in the end, we do not come back to the national theater. And there is a certain kind of inspiration the national theater can instill into a child that is missed if all they ever do is act in the outskirts of that. So I think there might be a way of marrying the two without replacing the other. And then very quickly is that somehow when we go for so-called trainings, trainers, the odd thing is, if you ask me to go and teach musicians how music works, it's going to be a disaster. But what happens all the way, all people who define curriculum, I don't know whether it's a money thing or not, but we do know that they will get a musician and they will think that MDD simply means that somebody knows all three. So they get a musician, and when it comes to drama, they tell the musician, but you also deal with this section. And some people are not noble enough to say, this is not for me, you call Phil Puliswata. They don't do that. What they do is they give you a call and say, Wamamulekwa. Now, how do you do this? And sometimes I kind of dismiss. I think that is irregular. Get the shoe cobbler to fix the shoe. Don't take a shoe cobbler to go and fix the tire of a car. It doesn't work. They are all rubber, but it's different kind of rubber. And then above all, I think on schools, they take drama so lightly that they have children rehearsing for 3 days, 1 week. And when you go to adjudicate, they tell you some things like, but give the children marks. And again, this is another reason why the trainers are impatient. They have 1 week in which to make an impression. And so that way, I think somebody's wires are too tight and you can forgive them occasionally when they snap. Lastly, on the bigger finances that may come from organs or state bodies and so on, and this one I said, I am coming from a good place, UNCC.
Doctor, what do you mean by organs? Because we have...
Organizations.
Oh.
I mean organizations,
I
funders.
Organ trafficking and...
Yeah, no. Organization comes from organ, Mr. Msinguzi.
Thank you,
Now, but I'm glad you're asking for clarity,
yes,
which is good. Now, funding bodies are more liable to fund institutions than individuals. UNCC, I'm coming in from a good place. And I think that the biggest challenge has been that UNCC needs to take the risk and start making productions. You can commission artists.
Why is the production?
Because you know who the artists are. You can commission them on so many levels. You can commission them at cash for a hand. You can commission them at, let's do this production. If it works and there's money and it's old, we can also it, we can share it. It will start slowly, but it will grow. Ndere Center started with 3 people, but now it has a large audience because of consistency. Yeah. So, yeah, but this, let me finish this one.
It's okay, Doctor.
The funding, I think UNCC itself has to inconvenience itself initially and fund 2 to 3 to 4, but they have to be quality productions. Once the audience trusts that in that place there is good pilau, they will go there to eat the pilau.
Yes.
Yeah, and then nationally, please stop the idea of funding individuals. Fund productions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Yes, Honorable, it's your turn because
the challenges that we have in the legislative space is the lack of understanding of the arts. When we started the Parliamentary Forum for the Creative Industries, the members of the forum, many of them were like, oh, it's Rachel. Okay, I'll register. More because it was me than the fact that it's a forum to support and advocate for the issues in the creative industry. Now, that lack of knowledge has been exhibited in the journalists, it is exhibited in the schools, it is exhibited, everybody who has spoken here. Nobody understands that to understand the arts, you've got to give it some space and learn what is it. I get very offended when I have these bloggers writing stories about you. They will watch something and write something completely different from their ignorant perspective. So we need to support the journalists because they are the ones who spread the news. We need to find a way to support them to understand and work better. Things are slow. When you start something within the law, to change a law, to amend a law, takes a very, very long time. I'll give you the example of the policy we started in 2002 to talk about that policy. 2003, 2004, we have now managed to get a document, and with the support of external help, it has taken almost 3 years to do the gap review. And now my challenge is, yes, now we have a policy. How do we roll it out? Who's going to support us? Because I know our desk in the Ministry of Gender gets less than 10 million a year. You can't work. The funding to the sector is very limited. And it all comes from the amnesia that OHT was talked about. Everybody is pretending that art is music, period. Nobody knows that arts and crafts is the things tourists buy when they come to Uganda. Even Ugandans buy, but no one is talking about it. How do we preserve our OHT is grey now? Who is our next Nuanyas? Now that the effort to create sustainability does not exist for the arts because everybody is pretending if you know Baby Cool, if you know good, you're finished with the arts in Uganda. But there are kids in Karamoja who are very good at making sculptures which look like those Kenyan heads. But all our shops here are full of Kenyan art. Yet the Ugandan arts in Kisoro are there, in Moroto, they are there. So what do we do within government to make sure that there's a recognition that art is a lot more than singers? Mr. Jede's board, 5 are musicians. Yeah? That goes to show. So the system of government is not structured in a way to support the industry. And we keep talking about it. We talk about ministry. We need a ministry. We need a ministry. Not because it is the magic bullet, but because it's the start at getting a structure which just might, for instance, in terms of funding, if we have a ministry, then our money goes there, and then it goes to the districts, and then goes to the regions. Something might happen. But when it is concentrated on a small desk in a big ministry, 6 portfolios, where is the attention? So the challenge here is to try and speed up and expedite changes in the law, changes in the policies. There's so much to do and very little time in terms of, if, for instance, we are working with the Law Reform Commission for the Arts Council Bill 2024 as a start of creating structures. It's been months.
Honorable, on your committee, how many members of parliament do you have on the forum?
I have 45 members.
45?
Yes.
Is there any effort you have taken to educate them about?
Oh, yes, we are. And I'd like to thank Palwood, through Selam, have been very helpful in trying to get the members to sit down and say, guys, creative industries means A, B, C, D. Oh, Okay, so copyright, now copyright education, what we should have known when we are in P3.
So can we leverage on the 45?
Yes, we can.
Good. And
They are
now,
very interested because the one thing that they have realized is that their children, their grandchildren are artists. They are digital content creators. They are, and they're like, oh my God, my child is going to be broke if we don't make this work. Another challenge that we have is we move 5 steps forward and 3 backward. Because a lot of people have access to powers that be, and you're doing this, you're pulled this way. You're doing this, you're pulled this way. So there's a lot of back maneuvering, top maneuvering over something which is plain, simple, guys. Let's get the law in place and try to organize an industry to which 70% of the youth in Uganda ascribe to. So we cannot be calling agriculture the backbone of Uganda's economy when 70% of the people in the economy are in the creative economy.
thank you so much, Honorable. It's been a very nice submission.
Thank you.
Ndugu Mzee Wanika, I have a question here from Tiaba Charles. Mr. Wanika, the film industry has a concern about a dysfunctioning CMO and our creative rights under massive abuse. What is your opinion on a decision should be done, as you also air out the challenges and the solutions that you have at hand of what you're doing to curb those challenges? Please address that question too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much to our online audience. Yes, first and foremost, I had taken note of the of Comrade Chawa's question, but I would want to first highlight on the challenges. First and foremost, I think Doctor talked about it, is the individualistic mindset, which also Comrade Yoyo, I think, calls ignorance. You see, many of our people still have this tendency of wanting to work alone. Again, and so my feeling more, so it's all about me. So nobody minds about, and you know, you can't forego the power of an institution. And I would, in the same note, if I forget, I would want to re-echo the voice of Dr. Charles, that at least institutions should be supported other than individuals. Yes, number 2 was the non-functional CMO, of course, like Comrade Chava highlighted. And then, but most importantly, we have diminishing film markets in our sector. Why am I using the word diminishing? We've had a formidable film market in Uganda. We are all aware that in Uganda we had a VHS tape sold at 50,000. People would look for these tapes wherever they are in town to be bought at 50,000 back in the days. And trust me, 50,000 of back in the days, trust me, it was some good money. But today, a movie is worthless. A broadcaster will just simply buy a film from street 200 shillings and then air it out to the entire country. So our markets are strongly diminishing. And last but not least, intentional public sidelining of the arts. The public sector, government has deliberately sidelined the creative sector. Even when they want to present themselves as supporting, they won't support permanent solutions. They will only support the panel. They'll give you the panel. They'll call you, send you to Guru, give you handouts, so that when the handouts are done, you will have to go back to beg. And we have to stop this great trek of going to Guru to beg if we are to go forward as artists. Now, coming to the solutions, I think that's where Comrade Chava needs to hear from my opinion. And I don't want us to look at it as Mzee Wanika's opinion. But what is your personal conviction when you see the wrong things happening? I think it has to be a responsibility of every stakeholder to wake up and address something when it is going wrong. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is the silence of the good men. I love it to hear when Dr. Chow says, you know, I will die for drama. You as an artist, it starts with you.
Thank you.
If each and every individual can be the Dr. Charles, if each and every individual can be the Mzee Iwanika, who is
Please, Mzee Iwanika, re-echo that so that my colleague Yoyo can get it on.
Will you add me some minutes? So basically, in answer to my questions, we are engaging the regulator, in this case with URSP, to make sure that the issues of UFMI are handled in the right manner. In 2016, it took the Wanikas to take URSP and UFMI to court, and the court ruling was in our favor. But till then, URSP has not acted, has not been in position to align our collecting society. So who is the problem? I think this goes back to the intentional sidelining of government to the creative sector. And I also wish to call upon the research department of UNCC to interest itself in the injustices that are happening on the creative sector. Let us call these government agencies, URSP, UCC, and bring them to record so that they can work in accordance to their mandate. Let them regulate the broadcasters, let them regulate the CMOs. I think going forward, we'll be able to achieve what we want. And what are we doing on the markets? We as Parliament, we are trying to see how can we collectively sell our content. You remember in 2020, we worked with MTN to bring about Shivand Express because we realized at the advent of COVID, analog distribution was going down. So we tried to reinvent ourselves, and we came up with Shivand Express to see how can we sell our content. How can our audiences have our content on their mobile phones? And when the service provider didn't work in accordance to our interests, we actually opted for we now have a contract with AfroMobile to see that our customers can access movies on the AfroMobile app. But that still isn't enough. UNESCO has given us a grant to create our own localized Netflix for Uganda, Ethiopia, Tanzania, and Rwanda for starters, but it's going to be for Eastern Africa, to see that we can collectively sell our content using these OTT platforms. I think, Omani, that there is this saying, above Tevegata. So if we are in position to make the creatives wealthy, probably our voices shall be heard. Filmmakers have not, which team I say the visual artists are doing terrible. At least they even have a village. What do filmmakers in this country have? Nothing. So basically, we want to empower filmmakers economically so that their social voices can be heard. And it's upon that platform that I request the panelists on this, the panelists of today, that let us amplify these voices. Let us speak truth to the powers so that the right thing can be done. About the SMO, it has to be collective responsibility. Let every filmmaker wake up, let us read the law at individual level so that even when we start to speak, we are speaking from an informed point of view. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Nade mahibwani kolina okwogera ku challenge y'okuvuma okukozesa ebigambo ebivuma naye togyogeddeeko, but it's okay. Yes, owekitiibwa.
Thank you very much, Seo Moderator, and I'd like to appreciate my fellow panelists. You have been wonderful. This is great. Let me share with you what I did for you guys. I came back in 1990. I lived in exile for 12 years. Then I met one of the artists. Today he's one of the big artists. At City House or something like that. They were selling via video tapes. I looked at him and said, "Go, aren't you supposed to be painting? What are you doing?" "Oh, there's more money here." I said, "But you're infringing on somebody's copyright." That was 1992. And I told him, "You know what? Go back. I'll organize an exhibition for you." I was president of the Uganda Association at that time. I'll organize an exhibition for you. You have better talent than selling counterfeit stuff. He has not looked back. He's a millionaire now. I think I've handled each and every aspect here of in music, theater, I don't know. I was the first to promote a Ugandan show, music show, Ugandans, and we charged 15,000 at the Sheraton, music back to the 60s and early Wamala, to show the audience that Ugandans can perform and make money from music. Now back to my domain. Copying without consequence is the problem. Because somebody will copy your picture, your art, and sell it, there's no consequence. But if there were consequences, definitely, like it is elsewhere, then definitely there will be, unfortunately, Mr. Ujed is not here, but Mark is here. And, Sewaga is not here. UNCC has since, the board has since turned into Uganda National Choir Center. With 5 members, musicians, that's a choir. And there is no visual artist there.
Mark, your docket of research has been given information.
Then the challenge of copyright in our domain. The problem is we have failed to get together as society. I even tried Mr. Batambuze to help us form a society. It is not working. You know why? Because there are very few people who can benefit from royalties. Unless you're into reproduction, you never realize the importance of copyright as a visual artist. Mm-hmm. I realized because I'm into reproduction. A simple craft of 5,000 shillings will market Uganda better than anything else. Why? It's the only thing the tourists will take back home and show that it was in Uganda. They will not even remember the Rolex they ate. They won't even remember the taste because they have eaten some other food. And probably the food they will have eaten by the time they get to Paris or to New York will have disappeared. Even the bed where they will have slept, they will not even remember it. But the souvenir would always be the reference mark, reference point. Solutions. Buy our art. Please don't give us free money. Just buy our art. Where is the camera? Where should I look? Dear Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, please buy our art. We don't want handouts, we just want you to buy our products. When you buy, you will be creating the market. Once you have created that market, you'll never suffer with trying to control artists. But just buy our products and promote them. Use them, make other people use them, let them become a contribution to the global culture. Over to you.
Thank you so much, It's been an amazing session, and hope everyone has gotten excited about this first edition. I've learned a lot, and also we've come to realize that we need to work together. That is a song we've been singing, but practically, can we step out? Mukulu button nino kutumanyo ba journalists balete bayingire mu space ya art. And my dear panelists, I would also want to bring to your attention that at some point, as we fight for the artists' rights and trying to echo issues that are affecting, we also have to put it on record that this institution that is supposed to be empowering the creative space is underfunded. That is one. Number two, is also understaffed. I came to realize that there's supposed to be 100 plus staff members, but the people doing that job are 41. And something that is also becoming a culture, since this is an institution for culture, every board that comes in power wants to fight the management in authority. It's been happening for the past 7 directors. And I don't know what if there's any way we can record success, I would love that to come to your desk as a thought. Think through it. Is it something that we need to be doing? Is it a culture that buli time kubanga tulina abantu betugoba for us to achieve something? Or we need to look at it as something that these people have begun to understand the creative economy and how best do we empower them to move to the next level? Or we bring in new people?
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Thank you so much.
I think first and foremost, how are they hired? First and foremost, how is the hiring done on both sides, management and the board? How are they selected? It's the mindset from the one who is hiring. What is the brief? What are they told? What are they challenged to do? Probably they're doing what they have been told to do. Over
Thank
to
you so much, OHT Wanyanzi. To my observation, I've also come to realize that at some point, this institution wants to be declared dysfunction and then be emerged. At some point, the arts and creative industries will not have space. So we call you on board to echo your voices, to protect and support this institution. Thank you so much. My name is Musingus Godfrey. I've been the host of the first edition. Let it be written and be recorded that I have been the host of the first edition of this EKIMEEZA. Any questions from our live audience? We want also to thank the online audience for being very active. Yes, I'll begin with Mark. We have 7 minutes. I don't know how we're going to do this, but we need to run through this. We have 3 hands. Microphone.
Thank you, the moderator and the panelists. Thank you so much. We have learned a lot. And actually, I want to thank the organizers. We are the host, but there's a team behind, the Parwood and the team. Thank you so much. My question, I want your opinion or your perspective on the infrastructure, artistic infrastructure. When I see on the panel, I see very able and experienced artists. And how do you see our infrastructure, artistic infrastructure? Because we do not have regional spaces. And for me, I want to see other move Dr. Murekwaz in the region, coming from the region. Because I believe that in Kabera Maido, there are other more Honorable Rachel who are there, but who are not given space, who are not actually have opportunity to get to the theater, get to the recording studios, because this conversation has been in the corridors for long. To find out how can, I have had a case study of, I want to use a case study of one person who is a businessman. Sudhir. He has built all over country with his banks. Actually, the case study is banks. Even if you go to the smallest town in Rushere, where I'm coming from, there is a town, there is a bank of Sudhir. But he's a one person. Can't it be possible to have a kind of regional center in my home district, in my hometown? Have we had that conversation in our art spaces, in our spaces where we go to discuss about art? How is it possible? What is your perspective on that? Because I'm seeing the art space is shrinking every day. Because if you do not have an opportunity to come to the theater, you do not have any other opportunity. So I wanted just to give me more, to have your perspective on how do we expand these spaces and create opportunities for other people who are in the regions, who even have potential, who have talents in the region, but they have no, to record a song, someone coming from Kabera Maido to Kampala, it can be a very, very tasking thing. What is in the corridor? What should we do to make sure that we create this infrastructure and make sure that art really access this place? Because I've seen it's a huge thing to our artists, and even they are struggling to get to these spaces. Thank you.
Thank you so much. To brother here, please be direct and brief.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the conversation I've listened in. I'm impressed by the diversity of thought and experience shared You guys have the experience. We need to write it down now as a writer. I'm only sad that on the panel there was no writer.
You're right. There's a writer.
Yeah, but you didn't introduce yourselves as writers. You didn't introduce yourselves as writers. You introduce yourself from what your passion is. And that is what you are doing. I know that for writers, I speak for them. We have some writers in exile because of this issue of artistic freedom. I'm just making comments, not asking questions. But the issue of freedom of expression is fundamental to us really putting out works there in the market. And for a fact, we know that the Computer Misuse Act is one of the barriers that we have to confront in order for us to create and continue putting works out there within the market. I know that my writers actually were charged under that that act. These days they moved away from slander and all the other things to computer misuse. I think we need to empower our creatives to be able to survive the onslaught of the Computer Misuse Act, because it is something that actually encourages a lot of self-censorship. So we don't get the actual product of Dr. Mulekwa. We get regular. You know? Yes, something in between there. Mulekwa would like to say something that would fundamentally actually change the politics of the country and whatever, but he can't. He will self-censor, partly because of the oppressive legal regimes. Two, the right to earn. I'm glad my brother Yoyo talked about copyright, and many of you have said artists are actually infringing the copyright of others. But personally, I want to call upon every artist and every person in Parliament and everywhere that when this bill comes to Parliament, there is something that is very fundamental that has happened to the arts. The way we consume, actually the way we create and also consume our cultural goods and services has changed. We no longer go to look for the 50,000 VHS tape. We buy, by the way, we are buying Banika's film at 200 shillings. So it takes him much longer to make 1 million shillings from his work. And we are not buying music. We are paying 10,000 for a flash, but music is free. We don't buy books. We get them on our WhatsApp apps for free. So you write a book and it will circulate the entire world without you become famous. But very broke because you have not earned a single shilling from what is happening with your work. So we have proposed to government that we need to do something, what other countries are doing. Other countries have provisions in their Copyright Act to the effect that the law now empowers them to impose a levy. It is called a private copy levy on gadgets. Each gadget pays the levy once in its lifetime, when it is coming into the country, or if it is manufactured within the country at the factory. And that money is collected. It's a lot of money. We have estimated that we can make up to 78 billion Uganda shillings. And that is not money even that they are putting into the arts. You know, looking at the budget. The budget, I think UNCC here about maybe 1.5 billion. Then the ministry has 10 million every quarter. That's all. So the 78 billion will make a difference in the arts. And I know that this proposal has been opposed at the level of cabinet, but that does not stop us from convincing the MPs that this is a good thing to do. Otherwise, without that proposal, we'll continue to create for nothing. We'll not earn from our toil. So the right to earn, we need to be protected. Finally, I'm glad you talked about the issue of wages that people earn from the sector. Recently, somebody called me, Charles, come, we want you to be in our movie. And but anyway, they were calling me at short notice. They did not give me the chance to negotiate and stuff like that. I didn't go. But wages is a very serious issue for our sector, and as a country, there's been that debate which was aborted at some point, the issue of minimum wage. For the arts, we need to rethink whether we can set an industry standard and say, as part of our self-regulation, this is the level of minimum wages that are acceptable for our people. Because wages go back to the right to earn. But also, there's the issue of social protection for artists. And there are two elements to this. One is retirement. When Mr. Mulekwa retires, what will happen to him? In other areas in the country, we know that when you retire as a civil servant, there is pension. What is the pension for? For the artists. That is something that we need to think about. Two, the issue of insurance, especially health insurance. We know when our big artists fall sick, we do car washes for them. And then the public is like, hey, these guys, they earn a lot of money, they live flashy lives, and yet can't afford what? Medical. But remember, when she falls sick or any of the ministers, they'll ferry them to Germany or the US at our cost. But for the artists, there is nobody who is taking care. And this is another area that we need to look at to see how best can we support this sector as we get better and better so that artists can fully enjoy this thing called artistic freedoms and rights. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, our panelists. Mine is an observation. At some time, I think it was a colleague, but who asked, how did we come here when you talked about parents, hitting their kids for being into the art? I quote something I came across some time, and I kept it, and I think I want to read it out to everyone all the time. This was I think it was a parliamentarian in the UK Parliament. He's called Lord Macaulay, for lack of pronouncing it good. He said, I have traveled across the length and breadth of Africa, and I've not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief. Such wealth I've seen in this country, such high moral values, people of such caliber that I do not think we would ever conquer this country unless we break the very backbone of this nation, which is her spiritual and cultural heritage. You hear that? I propose that we replace her old and ancient education system, her culture, for if the Africans think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem, their native culture, and they will become what we want them, a truly dominated nation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We're going to take a very few minutes. We're out of time. I'll begin. Mzee Wanika had a submission to Brother Mark. If you can submit, and if anyone has a submission towards that same, we can.
Thank you, moderator. I think we have a crisis that we also need to address as a sector. You know, it's like putting insects in a jug. Trust me, the more they reproduce, the more they are going to fight for spaces in there. Within our sector, we have to look at ourselves in two categories. We have the creatives, and then the likes of the professionals, those that come specifically to offer services. Now, the other problem is the professionals serve the interests of the creatives. So it is the creatives that decide what needs to be done. And if you could look at the trend of addressing issues affecting our sector, the creatives have always been in the lead because it is our sector. Now, where is the problem? You know, when it comes to the protocol, you can't, orders don't come from below.
They come from above.
They come from above. Now, we the creatives have gone to the above, and we influence all the decisions that come from the above. Now, the problem comes back to us as the creatives. I usually tell our colleagues, when the smart brains choose to sit back, they create room
for the
small brains to take charge. And I think I would challenge the doctors and the OHT was. I think we are dealing with a symptom. The people that are representing us, imagine we are now discussing about National Theatre as UNCC. Because the creatives that are representing us, in their minds, UNCC is a place next to Parliament. But if we are in position to get creatives that look at UNCC as a national institution, where we would have centers in almost each and every district, probably these creatives would speak the truth to the powers, and now the journals would know the right thing to be done for our sector. Imagine when we go up and tell the president that we need a skyscraper at the plot next to Parliament. That's what he thinks we need. We want to bring 1 million Ugandans to National Theatre. Instead of saying, let us create different centers across the country that can accommodate 1 million people so that we are able to command the masses. So I think we need to reflect on ourselves, and the useful, the people that Dr. Besige talked about in the creative sector need to take charge. Thank you.
Thank you. Doctor has something to say, then we'll go to OHT.
I'll be very quick, so please try and keep with my speed. He said something very interesting, that the National Theatre is next to Parliament. I think Parliament is next to the National Theatre. However, what needs to be known is that National Theatre, Parliament, and UBC were designed by the same person for the same deliberate reason,
yes,
to facilitate, to contain national culture. It was very, very strategic move. These days they sound like 3 different things, but really the idea was the same. Secondly, these national centers used to be there. And this expansion of national cultural centers, I've heard about it ever since I was in Form 3. But these cultural centers used to be there. There was one in Mbale called Namakwekwe. There was another one at Mengo. They all used to be there. There was one in Ginger that is turned into a church.
Entebbe Cinema Hall was removed.
It was also removed. The thing is this. Neither those institutions you're crying for, nor the ministry is an innovation. These are things that were previously here. So it's not that they were removed. And I know that we would like to be politically correct, but I don't think that since 1986, these people are very innocent. There's been a deliberate, but seemingly innocent way of just keeping the arts aside. It's like, okay, just leave it there. Mr. Museveni is too smart to not know the influence of the arts. For goodness sake, he used the arts to wage the war. What were they, when they singing, when they dancing, when they drumming? And initially, when he had just taken power, every year, there was a Christmas performance in the State House.
State House. Christmas.
Which I know because I went to perform there twice as a student. So there's nothing happening above the head. There are also, they should not think that, okay, if we empower the artists, then they will come into politics. Who is to say that if they sideline us, we won't enter? Maybe then even there is more reason to go there. So the thing is, we ourselves artists, first of all, there's something known as rite of passage. To be considered someone's husband, you have to go to their home and say, I'm the husband, right? I'm willing to be the husband. We cannot yet contain UNCC. What do we want in other places? So let's contain UNCC, make it really strong and powerful, then we spread out.
Dr. Officially, agadde gundi eno with a statement.
As the microphone goes, I'll just add on to doctors, the UNCC, the mandate in the 1959 Act is supposed to establish centers like this in all regions. But it's never funded to do its mandate. I believe that because I know you have never been given money to build the National Cultural Center in Gulu or in Moroto. It's supposed to happen. So if these centers existed and artistic people have access to a space where they can experiment what they need, be able to get new work done, to see videographers, how do they do their thing? If that alone, that mandate of UNCC of 1959 is funded the way it should be, you will see movement where people will be able to access facilities, to record without, from Kisoro, they don't have to come to Kampala, you get. So, like we said, everything is there. It just needs to be implemented.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Yes, so Chitiwa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Mark, your question, actually every Gombolola headquarters had a community center.
They are there.
Over to you.
I love it. I love the way Ochiba put it. You know, in Entebbe, I grew up in Entebbe, and my first time I watched a play called Omukazi Mukasebo, I watched it in Entebbe Cinema Hall and Entebbe Chitoro Community Center, where young people would always meet freely and think, play, and also create. Thank you, Owechitiwa. Yes, Mkulubate.
Yeah, the reason, do you know the reason why we fell in love with the Indian movies? They had a movie house here. It's called what? Club Rouge. Watoto Church was a movie house. In Jinja, there was a movie Iganga, Mbale, Ashok, and Elgon, and yeah, all over the country. So people would flock in there. Ugandans fell in love with Indian movies. They still do because they are still pirated and they come. So I really agree with what they are saying. The community centers were there and they had a stage and seats. So what happened? The spirit of preservation, the spirit of continuity, okay? The arts were... Thank you.
Thank you, Mukulubate. No, we're not closing. You're submitting. Mukulubate.
The individual merit descended into individualism.
Exactly. Before you submit,
individual merit descended into individualism.
Okay, thank you. One of the things that, guys, I want you to record is what Doctor said and Owechitiwa. The doctor mentioned something. There's a very smart, intentional move, which has been strategically designed. Now, I also want to bring to your attention that several times, Honorable, the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development has been invited to the committee at Parliament to present budgets and probably strategic plans and opportunities for funding. But they've never mentioned at any moment in that committee that they have an institution called UNCC. I have seen UNCC management walk into that parliament to defend themselves, to also lobby for themselves. And yet the immediate supervising body is the Ministry of Gender.
The line ministry.
The line ministry. And okay,
I wanted to answer Mark and tell him, I don't know whether, what happened? You can't reclaim our spaces? We went to Ginger. I was in the company of my fellow director there. It is a dilapidated church. That is what that theater looks like. And I was like...
Point of information.
Yes.
Those community centers are under the district.
Mm-hmm.
They are not UNCC buildings. They are not. So do
the
not
districts,
ask.
the districts.
Yes, those community centers are under the community development officers. So the day they give us district culture officers, then we can start talking.
So what they do is remove culture officers.
Yes.
So what?
Yes.
So what would be a baby step is to claim culture officers at each district?
We need a whole, you know the way you look at the Ministry of Agriculture. Okay? It's a big ministry with 5 ministers of state. Then you got the district, regional, something. Then there is this whole infrastructure of people, up to the extension officer who goes to the village.
Yeah.
That is the way we need to be structured. We need these people who will know that in Nawampendo, in my district, there's a child there who plays, who needs to be at the national level. And they make provisions for that child to go to Makerere University as mature entry to be recognized and hone his skill for the development of the country.
Thank you for that submission, Honorable. But I also think it's still possible because
it is possible.
The structure you've mentioned, I also see it under the Ministry of Health, where we have up to the level of
VHT.
Yes, VHTs. Now, why can't we have the what you call them, district culture officers under Ministry of Culture, Gender, Labour and Culture, so that we can reclaim these spaces?
I think at the end of the day,
so I think that is
what we are trying to do to get infrastructure, like Mark was saying. That's the kind of infrastructure we need in terms of physical buildings and in terms of human resource who can support the growth of the industry.
Thank you so much. You've been a very
Mr.
amazing.
Batamze, I think, had a...
Moderator.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I had stepped out a bit when these other debates were on, and I picked it from the last part. I just wanted to give a little bit of information so that we can start from there and discuss more. There was a time when Honorable Mukwaya was the minister, and we did present the position of having to have a culture officer in the districts. It went to the highest level. And I do remember that His Excellency the President saying he doesn't want duplications. We should be able to use the community development officers to do the job. Now, that was the position I'm giving so that you can take it from there. And that already then brought it down. But we also have an opportunity in the sense that the UNCC Act provides for the culture committees, district culture committees. The Act provides for it. And we have initiated the process because the composition or instituting has to be done by the minister. We drafted a letter. The minister has already sent them to the districts, to the cows, but I think we're just waiting for responses from the districts because they have to be constituted by the district. We gave them how they should do the composition, who should be a member and so forth. So that is the information I wanted to give you. So there's some little work being done in that area, but we could beef it up with these comments that are coming. Let me now, because I will not come back again, because I know the debates are on, let me also let you know that we have gotten an opportunity in the sense that there are 2 lines of monies that we have been promised. The first one, which is already in advanced stages, is resources from GROW. I'm sure you all know about GROW now. Now, GROW, through the World Bank, has identified the area of the National Theatre, not the building, but the area, our parking here, to be able to establish, to build an infrastructure of about 15 storied, but then in there, they are supposed to be theaters which could accommodate up to about 3,000, 1,000, actually there are 3, and then another of 700. The architects have already been procured through the ministry, and surveyors have done their work. Consultations are going on with artists to see how should it look like. I think 2 weeks ago we had a meeting with them here, and we gave our input to them. This is something that you need to know because as we talk about the infrastructures. Again, we also, through Ministry of Finance, our projects for redevelopment and also regional centers has been accepted in the Ministry of Finance. They have a project committee. We presented, the project committee accepted our concept, and we have now been allowed to do the profile. Now, in terms of a layman, a profile is a complete proposal. But for them, they decide to call it a profile, which we are presenting this week. But once that is that's done, because the stage one we already passed, meaning that they have now allowed us and they're going to finance it, then we will be able to start with what they call regional centers. Our thinking was to start with at least 4 regional centers. And the selection criteria is, we are trying to look at the traditional, if it is north, we're looking at the cities. If it is west, those cities will be our benchmark. So this is just information, and I thought in a conversation like this, there's some of this information that I'm privileged to and need to share. Thank you very much.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we are past time, and I'm seeing hands. I don't know how long your question is or comment. And so let me have Charles, 1 minute, and we close. Yes, our Honorable is going to leave. Yes, and if she leaves, we close. Honorable, give me 2 minutes.
Quickly, the issue of infrastructure is a challenge. All of us acknowledge it as a big challenge. And I know that UNCC has the mandate to provide the infrastructure. In my view, UNCC did not take advantage of certain things that happened within the country. For instance, we know about the decentralization policy. You cannot expect an organization that is underfunded to provide infrastructure in Iganga, in Namutumba, in Ebugweri, in all over the country. Whereas the districts which are receiving budgets don't have this as part of their responsibility. I know for a fact, for instance, for the public libraries also used to be under Ministry of Gender. And for them, when the decentralization policy came, they decentralized that responsibility to the districts. Some of the districts that have put up libraries since then, one of them is Moroto, and that northern Nusaf, Soroti, and other places, because they own the responsibility. So I think maybe we might want to revisit how do we make decentralization work for infrastructure for the arts.
Thank you so much. Thank you. In 1 minute, please conclude.
Thank you very much. I just want to add on what Mr. Nyans talked about. He talked about research and finances. And coming from the multidiscipline of both, I felt like adding something. Dr. Charles can testify that. So, as one way of, since Africans will know we're already beggars, as one way of looking for finances, we don't just look at our government. Why don't we come up with something? As artists, we air our problems. The indirect way of airing our problems is through writing. Because we talk about this and that, but they are not written down. And if we sat down and wrote and published those problems, actually we are attracting the whole world to support. As I've said, we are already beggars as Africans. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have Culture Day tomorrow, officially. The activities opened with this, and the official day is tomorrow, so please be around. Actually, it's called World Theatre Day. From 9 a.m., lots of performances will be here at the National Theatre. And then we'll be back on the last Wednesday of April with this EKIMEEZA, please stay in touch. If anyone online wants to be part of the live audience, please apply, and also we'll look through, because etwaga kwekubira no bikonde tulete wano mu Banda. Thank you so much, Honorable, for your time. Kulubate, thank you so much. Dr. Mulekwa, thank you so much. Chairman Nkoyoyo, thank you so much. Muwekitiibwa Nyanzi, thank you so much. Executive Secretary Manyoli busy nnyo, kyalina okukola video, kyalina okukola emirimu ya Paul. Thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, officially this panel discussion is closed. We can take a group photo for the first edition. And let it be written on our production manager. Let it be written and recorded that Msingu's Godfrey held, moderated the first